All-Star Tower Defense, a game beloved to many. This game had one of the arguably highest peaks in Roblox gaming, created on May 6, 2020, with 7.5 billion visits and 2 million favorites. Yet there are so few active players now compared to when it was in its prime. What happened? As a matter of fact, the next update released is going to be the final update for All-Star Tower Defense before they move on to ASTDX. What made this game successful in the first place, and what drove them to plummet their success? To start, we first have to understand what made this game so addicting and fun, and how it created such a large and returning player base. Tower defense games have always been an addicting gaming genre, as it features both a mix of strategy and skill. The timing on when to place units, activate their abilities, and what units to use are a few considerations that can send players down a never-ending rabbit hole of trial and error. But once a meta team has been constructed, the satisfaction that comes from relaxing and sitting back, watching the units decimate enemies is a highly rewarding experience. Not to mention, the game revolving around anime characters being the towers themselves was a great idea at the time of the release. Note that I say at the time of the release because of how oversaturated Roblox anime games have become over the years. Continuing on, however, the method in which to obtain a unit was also quite addicting, as it was literally gambling itself with the gacha system to roll for the desired unit. There were, however, signs of problems that would continue to grow unless responded to by the developers. October 30th, Update 1. Kuro was added, greatly changing the meta of the game. With his insane universal damage, no unit before has seen anything quite like Kuro before, with his single death note ability able to destroy the health of all present enemies in the map. He was a must-have unit, and therefore contributed to a lot of reoccurring players to get on the grind to roll for him. In November 15th, 2020, Update 3 was released, with the release of Onwin and Zoro, who also turn into meta units, outscaling all the previous units who were considered to be the best. Onwin in particular was a must-have due to his ability to buff nearby units, which can be very useful when paired up with Kuro or any high damaging units, as a matter of fact. April 3rd, 2021 was the first update, which marked the beginning of the end, with the release of 6-star Golden Frieza and 6-star Minato. Firstly, the introduction of these two units introduced the concept of 6-star units. While a new star rating for units even more rare than 5 stars initially seemed like a great idea to generate hype and make players even more committed to the grind, several problems now arise from this. Since the units are 6 stars, they naturally are more powerful than most 5-star units. This pushes almost every other 5-star unit that has been released thus far to the side. Ever since the Kuro update in October 30th, there has been a growing power creep that has consistently pushed the older 5-star units aside as well. Moreover, this process can be seen as demotivating by the players to a certain degree, as their hard-earned gems from long grinding sessions spent on older units have now been wasted in a sense. The fact that the older units that you've grown to enjoy and used to dominate with becomes outclassed by some random anime character only because they're new is a major flaw that the developers have overlooked throughout each and every update. This is one of the main reasons as to why I myself and many other players have dropped the game. More specifically, I remember thinking to myself, if 6-star units are now going to start being released, overpowering older 5-star units, when will it be time for the 7-star units to be released, which overpowers the 6-star units? As stated previously, this notion made me feel unmotivated to grind for the newest and hype units, as it can be inferred that there is going to be a new unit that will always overshadow the previous units. In fact, doing some research for the video now, I've discovered that 7-star units have been released for quite a while ago, with there being a large number of them. Update 12, released on April 3rd, 2021, introduced a new character named Meta Knight. He was without a doubt the best unit in the entire game, and arguably also one of the most fun units in the entire game, with the creators implementing a new and unique mechanic, allowing the players to pilot his mech and the suit themselves. This successfully generated a lot of hype, as Meta Knight does insane damage and was fun and refreshing to play. The issue here, however, was how much damage he does, creating yet another large power creep performed by the developers in an attempt to captivate more players. By this point, the older 5-star units released in the first update are almost useless, with even a few of the newer 4-star units performing better than the older 5-star units. The direction this game is headed still has hope for better gameplay revamps and character redesigning, but let's see how it plays out. May 15th, 2021, Update 14 was released, with the addition of Orbs starting with the fire and the cost. It appeared that the developers have realized a significant problem in power creep and have started to take action to mitigate it. Orbs, in a nutshell, are equipable items to units that provide them with a buff to make them more powerful and equal to more modern units. While this was a step in the right direction, new units kept on being released, getting more and more strong, with the power creep continuing. This eventually made it so even the older units with the hard, grinded orbs equipped on them couldn't match up to the newest hype units. This reveals how the developers still had a major flaw when it came to designing newer units. There was an unnecessary priority on pursuing power creep updates that continues to make the game feel like an unnecessary grind every time a new unit comes out to keep up with the meta, instead of making the game more balanced to cater towards old units that have fell victim to the power creep. This vicious cycle, paired with the lack of quality updates and intense repetitive grinding, has caused the player count to slowly plummet, leading to the complete downfall of all-star tower defense of which we see today. So what could have the developers done differently? For starters, I believe there never should have been any 6 or 7 star units. Adding a rarity above the original intended 5-star rarity seems like a nice addition to the game at first, but there almost has to be a power creep to implement 6 and 7 star units in a way that makes sense to live up to their rarity. If this addition was really a passion from the development team, perhaps 6-star units could have been more cosmetic focuses, such as on different skin variations for the unit. 6 stars could have also possibly been an alternate, more niche version of the unit, such as Goku with all his transformations, giving fans of a certain character more niche selections. Following my idea, however, 7-star units shouldn't be an addition to the game. Next, getting a bit more controversial, I believe there should have been a big update balancing all the units in terms of damage, especially with the older 5-star units, instead of relying on orbs to grind. This could have taken away a lot of time-consuming grinding to ensure that older players can still have units that fit with the modern meta, and also ensures that players can have their desired character without having to play with a unit that barely does any damage. It's important to note, however, that I am not a recent or active player of All-Star Tower Defense, as the last time I've played the game was at least 2 years ago. If there is any information I missed or am incorrect on, please feel free to comment below. Anyways, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.